Hi friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and this next video I also created before going on vacation so that I would release my videos, for you guys. This deck just arrived, the Piedmontese Tarot of 1865. Unfortunately, I didn't have it at the time that I did the Piedmontese tarot decks, but I became aware of it at that time. And as far as I knew, there was no way to get a copy of this deck other than seeing photographs of it in Kaplan's encyclopedia, other than to order it from a fellow who publishes decks on make playing cards and of anarchy games. Apparently, this deck is in the public domain of Wikimedia, I think it's called. And this enterprising chap got the cards, was clever enough to figure out how to get them on make playing cards, and he produced a deck from 1865. I've tried to do that myself. I'm just not clever enough to know how to work it. My computer probably is not sophisticated enough. I have a 10-year-old computer. Hand to heart. My computer's 10 years old. So I think it definitely has limitations. Okay, let's check it out. This deck was created originally by F F Solesio in Genoa, Italy. Let me pause this so I can get this out. And I also just want to give, just show you this information. The deck is in the public domain. The original lithograph print of this deck is in the National Library of France. And the artwork for these cards has been edited from the original public domain images for Anarchy Games by Robert L. Lynch, who is available at anarchy-games.com. And I imagine there must have been a need to edit some of what was on the cards in order to make them presentable, right? So we have the Ace of Cups, which is not the flowery bowl that we saw in some of the other decks. We do have the dragon heads with the, the card maker's name. So being in the Piedmont region with Marilyn and her maps, it's in the northwest, the extreme northwest region of Italy, bordering on France and Switzerland, right? So it's right here in the Piedmont region, nestled up against Switzerland and France. So you can see and appreciate how there was a cultural exchange and artistic exchange between those three countries regarding how the cards appeared, right? If you're a card maker in the Piedmont region of Italy at this period of time, 1865, you're no doubt trying to create a deck that's palpable to more than one country. I'm always fascinated by this chap. Again, the name of the deck creator, and that it was created in Genoa. And I have not changed the direction of these cards. It's always interesting to see if the swords point up or down, depending on the deck and the region. Although this could be a mistake because the flower would certainly be pointed up. It's just interesting that it came upside down. So there goes that theory. These could have been all, the swords could have been inverted rather. When I received them, I don't know. So this one might be pointed up and the other's pointed down. I don't know. Wow, that's unusual. I mean, it doesn't matter to me as I read the cards, which is up and down. For those of you who've seen my videos, you know I don't concern myself with reversed cards. I just write them up, you know, right side them up. And mostly I concern myself with the cards that surround it. So none of the cards were recreated for the purpose of this deck. I wonder if that's the real back. Could be. Because, you know, there's nothing in the packaging that suggests that any cards had to be recreated. I'm guessing that some of the cards just had to be brightened up, maybe. Because it seems as though it's pretty much a facsimile. It looks like a facsimile deck. Maybe the cards have become dark and they had to be blasted with light. I don't know. So it does seem as though the cards, the pip cards, you know, didn't come in any rhyme or reason as to the position they're in, up or down. And despite what I said about the cards maybe having to be palatable for more than one country, you know, the deck doesn't necessarily say anywhere on it that it was made for export. And sometimes they say that. And also the language is Italian. So it doesn't look as though they're doing it in any other language. So this may have just been for Italian eyes. And we're noticing that the cards, some of the cards are in different directions than we're accustomed to, right? We're accustomed to seeing the Fool walking in the other direction. We're accustomed to seeing the Emperor facing the other direction. The cards that are facing us is more subtle, you know. Maybe their accoutrements would be in different hands than what we're accustomed to seeing, but it's not a glaring, oh, they look like they're in the, you know, looking in a different direction than what we're used to. I think there are many decks where the Il Bagato is looking in this direction, however. Just some of the cards, not all of them. you know, there's a lot of debate with the French cards in particular, and any cards of the lover trump where there's more than one person. Sometimes you can't tell what the genders are, but here clearly there are two women and one young man. So none of these individuals appear to be a celebrant marrying the couple. Clearly in this deck, there seems to be a young man who's trying to make a choice, or, you know, there are two women in his life. You know, maybe the virtuous one versus the one that's a little more fun. You know, Cupid is barely blindfolded. I mean, you could tell that he's peeking, right? I can't get this in focus. I'm sorry. Yeah. And I want to go back to the Fool because there was no butterfly, right? There was no butterfly with the Fool. Which is a Piedmontese edition around 18, I think 30 something, right? So this would have been after. So they would have definitely been familiar with Vernano's deck and the butterfly, which is another reason that makes me wonder if it was, you know, maybe produced to make it more palatable and not so regional, but I don't know. Again, the Hermit, traveling in a different direction than what we're accustomed to. And sometimes the wheel is cranked clockwise, and sometimes it's cranked counterclockwise. So again, it might be a subtle thing, right? But you know, the you know, the way it was copied, you know, is subtle, but you can spot out the differences. Again, with fortitude. Appeso, you know, I didn't look at this deck before I began the video, so I don't know if Appeso means the traitor or if it actually means the hanged one in Italian. That would be something you might be of interest to look up. I certainly will. As soon as this video is over, I'll look it up. But it'd be interesting to know, you know, how this card was identified. The other cards, we can pretty much tell what they are. Yeah, that death card is in rough shape, huh? You know, we almost have a sweeping movement, you know, between the water, that appears to be water. You know, it's like a visual, you know, it's like a visual thing. It's not real because her clothes, those are her clothes, but it almost looks like it's being siphoned up into this vessel and poured out. You know, and it's interesting to be reminded of the different wings on some of these individuals. You know, we have angelic, you know, wings, identifying temperance as a virtue. And we have someone else who is of another realm, but he does not have, or it does not have angel wings, right? These are the wings of someone who comes out, or something that comes out at night. Also notice the face and the belly, which seems to be a Piedmontese convention. And, you know, with, 9/11, the anniversary coming up, the 20th anniversary coming up, and being reminded of the images of a catastrophe from the air and individuals with no choice, right? Or feeling, that there's no choice other than to jump, or maybe they fell, not deciding what they did. I'm just saying, from the person watching the news reports, the impression. And sometimes we downplay this card and we say things like, change, or, an adjustment, or a restructuring. And it can be all those things, but it can also be cataclysmic, right? And I'm watching some news, some documents earlier today about 9/11, because it is the 20th anniversary. And in seeing those images, of course I remember this card, because that's what I do. I'm a tarot reader, right? And it just reminded me that, this card, when you see it, it can carry some significant information. Not all change is easy. It can be cataclysmic, a compelling image. So again, we have a reversal, right? We have the moon, a partial moon, not a full frontal facial moon, but it is looking in this direction rather than that. And I often wonder if the moon card is not a representation of a location that is long since forgotten. We don't know, but there might have been a particular reason why this particular image was chosen to represent the moon. Maybe there was some great nightlife that went on in this particular place that has a river, and wild dogs, or dogs, and crustaceans and towers. I don't know. But it's another very cool image. Youngsters in a walled space, enclosure, maybe a garden. Not sure what's going on there. Like the wall was disrupted by the color of their flesh. So maybe this was his hand coming, this guy's other arm coming out, but something got lost in translation, and the bottom arm got left out, and that whole space became their flesh tone. And then what's going on with that wall? So there we have it. If you're interested in obtaining some historic tarot decks that are not available by the mainstream, card makers, check out playingcards.com, and check out these folks, anarchygames.com. I think I paid, maybe $40 for this deck. I didn't pay a lot. I also, while I was at it, just bought a little tarot or tin box. It doesn't fit with the box, and I would not probably take the cards out of the box, but they fit nice with the box. If I put the cards in the box, I don't believe they fit. Let's see. But, I would, there, you could probably get tins for a lot less money on, unfortunately, their tins don't fit the decks. the standard decks. But, and you could probably buy tins for less on Amazon. But since I was just ordering a deck, I just decided to buy a tin. I'll find a deck to use. So there we have it. I'm happy. I'm thrilled to have it. And I'm thrilled to have it at a reasonably less expensive price that I would normally pay for a specialty deck. As far as the cardstock goes, it's flexible. It's a card, you know. It's made by Make Playing Cards, so they're in the they make playing cards, right? So it's their business to make cards that you can easily shuffle and that can sustain being shuffled. I don't typically riffle shuffle my decks, but decks like this I do on occasion, just to, especially if it's a brand new deck, to get them unmixed. And it shuffles well. No, it shuffles well. Until next time, friends, peace and stay well.